All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to pay tribute and hail to the king. We're back with the Bretonnia vs. Beastmen showdown. It's going to be King Lewin facing off against Torox the Brass Bull. We are, of course, on the new and fixed patch for the Beastmen chariots work as intended, so quite cool. It opens up a lot of neat builds for the Beastmen. And you can see here, Hadri's does indeed have the triple Tusk Gore chariot. Now, as far as my army goes, it's going to be a front battle line of peasant mobs backed up by battle pilgrims. Battle Pilgrims are quite exceptional against Beastmen. They are very effective against all Beastmen infantry, with the exception, of course, of Bestigors, but normally you don't see Bestigors. They're not terribly common, because a lot of Beastmen players are probably going to be afraid of Fey Enchantress, her Mortis Engine dragging down their expensive infantry, while the Bestigors get tar pitted by like peasant mobs and things like that. So triple Battle Pilgrim, one of which is going to be the Holy Wardens. In the backfield, we do have triple Peasant Bowmen as well. Very good against Beastmen. I mean, new Beastmen have more armor for sure. Torox is 130. Gorebull is, 100. The chariots themselves have 80 armor, but Centaurs, Manticores, if they go with like a Gorgon or a Jabberslike, the Peasant Bowmen are going to be incredibly solid. The backfield, Damsel of Life, we do have 4 Knights of the Realm. Knights of the Realm are exceptional against Beastmen for the same reason Peasant Bowmen are, right? Pretty good against all those large targets we just mentioned. Good shock damage against infantry. And in general, I think Knights of the Realm are just such a good unit. And they synergize really well with King Lewin as well. Now, one of the issues with Knights of the Realm against like heavily armored Beastmen assets is their lack of armor piercing, right? You can see here their AP damage is very poor. Of the 37, only 9 is armor piercing. But if you get Lewin with his item, the dreaded Sword of Couronne, let's go ahead and find that. There it is. It's going to be giving 24 melee defense penalty as well as negative 30 armor. So it can put the armor of a Tusk Gore chariot down to 50. Torox only down to 100, but the Gorebull down to 70 is pretty significant. But overall, I do like this build. I think Lewin is very effective at digging out the big scary Beastmen armor pieces. So we're going to be trying it. Because most Bretonnian players and their moms and dogs really use Fey Enchantress because she's way more kind of a, I wouldn't say intuitive, but like it's more autopilot. You just like put her in a blob and protect her with paladins, and like she just wins you the game sometimes. But Lewin is really good still, guys. Don't sleep on the king. Now for Hadri's, he's got a vanguard of a bunch of Chaos Warhounds in my backfield, and I knew there was some treachery. I couldn't see his army, so here the Knights of the Realm are going to be like looking around. I smell the trap, so you can see the big scouting going down here. For the rest of Hadri's, it's just chaff units against my chaff Bretonnians. He's got triple Tusk Gore chariots against my infantry, double Manticore, Torox, a Bray Shaman of Death, and a Gorebull here in the backfield with more and more Hounds and Harpies. So pretty cool army for sure. Now, the Peasant Bowmen going to be opening up here on the Ungors. I can't really see anything else, and Hadri's really was kind of harassing with the Tusk Gore chariots. Now, in my experience with Tusk Gore chariots, I found that even after they did get fixed in this patch, they're still very good against armored cavalry. They have really good armor-piercing values, so if they're like saturated with like spears and things like that, they can actually wreck your armored cavalry. You have to be really careful. Those pigs do not mess around. Now, here in the front, we got a couple Ungor spears looking like they want to fight, but as soon as the bald Battle Pilgrims get out there, the mighty Italian Spartacus haircut, the Battle Pilgrims do force them back, and the Ungor Spearman herds are going to be running for the hills. Archer's just going to be switching fire. At this point, I just wanted to do as much damage as I possibly could before the main battle started, and their backs are turned, so they aren't going to be getting the shields. A little bit of a back and forth play here on the flanks. Hadri's moving into the Tusk Gores. I countercharge with Knights of the Realm. I pull back, just very much jockeying for position, but I have to be careful not to overextend. If he swarms me with the Chaos Warhounds, for example, the Manticores get in there, dive in, I'm poisoned, I'm trapped. I have to make sure those battles are a little bit more optimal. So lining up my cavalry, we do countercharge there at the last second, and Lewin and the cavalry are going to be jumping into the Hounds. Obviously, it's a bit of a trap, though, as the Tusk Gore chariots are now going to be penetrating into my battle lines, but we do get that good value on the Hounds. Up in the sky, Harpies diving in on the Peasant Bowmen, which we're all shooting at the Harpies. So we get some good damage, but the Chariot's definitely causing some problems. The Hounds do bounce back, and more Hounds are sent in to distract a large portion of my army, while the Manticore also jumps in to cause some problems. Lewin going to be responding with the Sword of Couronne, but just to lower the melee defense of the Manticore, but it does get away. It did not quite overextend like I wanted. I also forgot to mention I do have Gotrek. Gotrek is a beast here. You can see how much Beastmen love their SEMs, and Gotrek is like extremely hard to kill. Has anti-large, and is a really good durable piece just to sit in your opponent's army. Knights of the Realm going to be couching their lances, charging in once again against the Beastmen monsters. Unfortunately, there's a lot of armor here. He does also have the Destroyers of Drakewald surging down from the high ground, so things are getting very messy, but Lewin the King is coming in, baby! Jumps in on the Gorebull, gets 2 nice attacks, and more importantly, the Peasant Bowmen are all still online. My battle lines are very secure, and we're unleashing a torrent of fire here into the Frail Manticore, while Gotrek, the Mighty Slayer, actually just got his tabletop model, which is so goddamn cool. He's like standing on a pile of rubble and like Skaven, and it's just so metal. But yes, shooting in there, chopping down the Feral Manticore. The Feral Manticore here is going to be getting owned by your boy Gotrek. Lewin, in the meantime, does focus, or at least draw the ire of the Gorebull as well as Torox, but we get some cavalry up on the high ground. They couch them lances, and we get a nice little shock charge in, buckling the Warhounds but more importantly, allowing your boy Lewin to escape. Gotrek quite healthy, Manticore up in the sky, running for the hills. Battle Pilgrims have been very dominant. They've been able to win all their fights. I do have some in reserve here, which were intentionally kept back here in case he got some units close to my archers, and then the Battle Pilgrims will be charging in and easily dispatching these Encores. It should be a very, very good fight for them. Battle Pilgrims have insanely good leadership. It's like 89, 90 when it's like in the state of battle. I think their base is like 80 or something, but with all the buffs of nearby things and, you know, allies securing their flanks or whatever, they are really durable, which is nice against Beastmen, because Beastmen like to overwhelm your peasant positions, but with the Battle Pilgrims, you're going to be in much better shape. Now, Gotrek a little bit trapped up here, but we do have some cost-effective fighting going on. The Holy Wardens are fighting in here quite well, cutting through the Beastmen supporting spears. Lewin getting an Earthblood, Gotrek buffed by that as well, and they do get in there and really give the 1-2 punch to the Manticore. While in the backfield, Hounds do attempt to get onto my archers, but the Knights of the Realm that did rally from the backfield, easily able to clean up those Warhounds. And the one Gorbel has pulled back at this point, while the Manticore is just peppered with filthy, filthy Peasant Bowmen. Peasant Bowmen are such a cost-effective unit. Great range, great arcs of fire, and yeah, they just do some solid work for their price point. So continuing to shoot in, the Manticore is broken. Gotrek is very, very damaged. Probably won't survive the battle, most likely. But, you know, that's what he's looking for. He's trying to fulfill that Slayer Oath. I mean, that is literally what he's here to do. So he's jumping in there. Does get on top of the Gorbel. Does miss that attack, but the Holy Wardens and him should be able to put some hurt on this army. Lewin, in the meantime, going to be going back here to secure. I wanted to make sure I didn't lose my Peasant Archers in my backfield. So Lewin does bounce back here to deal with the Tuskor Chariots. Now, that's something Enchantress wouldn't have been as good at, right? And in this matchup, Hadri's brought a build that was probably pretty well designed to deal with Enchantress. He didn't have a lot of good Mortis Engine targets. And Gotrek going to be meeting his final doom here, fighting 3 massive monsters of the old world. He is trampled here, and Gotrek will fall, but not before he did excellent work. I mean, he occupied that Beastman army for so goddamn long. Some more archer fire pouring in. Lewin and the King looking for more opportunities to strike. Knights of the Realm couching their lances once again. Anti-large bonus will help, of course, against the big Gorbel beasts. And they certainly get some nice work in as that Gorbel is shaken, allowing Lewin to potentially come in. The return to the King as he does finish off the Brave Shaman of Death, or at least breaks him over here. But he will be getting back into the epicenter of combat. And I do notice these Knights of the Realm that had been idle for about 30 seconds. So they'll be back into the battle in a moment. But volume of fire is volume of fire. And those Peasant Bowmen do wear down the armored Gorbel. Negative leadership at this point. Looks like he's at -14. Knights of the Realm going to be jumping on your boy Torox. And in a straight duel, I don't know who would win between Lewin, but if you cycle charge and, of course, take advantage of your mobility, I think Lewin certainly can do some great work. Chariot's trying to get in once again, but Lewin just a sweeper, moving in and crushing the Tuskor Chariot, pushing it back. And now he eyes his final prey as Torox the Brass Bull sits here ready for the duel of duels. The mighty Corn Bull preparing to, fight the King here. 3,000 HP, 3,500 on Torox. Torox is pretty meaty. He's like a good Nikai. He does pop the Brass Body and moves in, going after the Battle Pilgrims, perhaps going after my Life Caster, which certainly isn't a bad idea, taking away healing. But Lewin is very hot on his tail. The Peasant Bowmen going to start shooting at him as well. And even without Lewin here, I think I could win on attrition. I do have some Knights that have come back. I have Spears and Battle Pilgrims. Torox would take a long time to drag down, but I think it would be possible. It'd certainly be a much more dire situation, because Lewin with the Sword of Corone really does mitigate a lot of his defensive capabilities, putting his melee defense down to a respectable 47 there, but kind of counteracts the Brass Body. But that is going to be it. Army loss kicks in for the Beastman Lord as he does get taken out by the King. Great battle. That was a really, really fun one. Very scrappy. And I think it's cool. Yeah, I love Lewin, man. Such a cool character. And honestly, a lot more fun to use than the Fey Enchantress. And honestly, I think he was better than the Fey Enchantress in that battle. I think if I had had the Fey, what? Am I going to mortis some like Hounds and some crappy Ungors? I wouldn't have had the tools. Like, Lewin was bouncing back. He was dealing with Chariots. He was battling the Beastmen SEMs. Paladins can do it, but Paladins really lack armor piercing, so they would have struggled. I think the Gotrek-Lewin combo was legitimately stronger there, and it worked out pretty well. Overall, Battle Pilgrims were big performers. Not a ton of value accrued, but they held very well. Peasant Bowmen, not insane value, but certainly some of them doubled, or at least, just got over their value. And Knights of the Realm did okay. 800 here, 400 there, and 1,100 on this one, or 1,200 give or take. So yeah, it was a fun build, and I think both builds are good. It came down to some of the engagements, in my opinion, and the fact that the Peasant Bowmen were able to shoot for most of the game. So that's it. Well played, Hadris. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you on the other side. Take care of yourselves, and we'll be back with more replays soon. Cheers.